And among them were, of course, the group that I mention so often with Hugh Taylor and Marilee Fenner and Jamie Nielsen, and they performed. And then I had Jonathan Edwards, quite a famous singer in his time, and still maybe, I don't know. Um, but he sang several songs. It was a long night and a lot of fun. And I've done, several other concerts, not of that magnitude, uh, but they've been as much fun. And last year I did one on my birthday, and it was just me and Marilee. Um, but it was great fun. And as far as I can tell, I have an audience of one for this concert, but I know that there are many of you out there, and I hope you're listening and enjoying it. Well, I haven't given you anything to enjoy yet, but we'll do a couple of age-related songs and then another story, and we'll see how it goes. another birthday concert that I really have to mention was my 70th. And again, it was in the Tabernacle. And there were many highlights of it, but I think the most special for me was that I had my piano teacher from the time I was at Perkins come and play for me, with me, I should say, and for me. He played a solo piece, and he was almost 90 at that time, and just passed fairly recently, I think, within a year or so. And we played the Schumann Piano Concerto, or at least the first movement of it. And of course, the nature of a concerto is that it's a piece for one or more solo instruments and orchestra. And of course, most people don't get to play them with orchestras. And so the composer or somebody wrote out the orchestral part as a piano arrangement. And so we did the first movement of the Schumann, which I had done at very close to the time of my graduation at Perkins. I think actually I might have done it on the night of my graduation or the night before, I guess. And it was with the Arlington Philharmonic in Arlington, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And the music director of Perkins was the conductor of that orchestra. So Henry Santos was this teacher's name, and we practiced and practiced on two pianos that were in his studio. And after that night, I graduated and went on to the conservatory, and we stayed in touch to some extent, and we would see each other maybe every 10 years or something like that. But anyway, we played it that night in the Tabernacle, and we practiced it once in the afternoon, but it was the first time we had played together for 52 years, and we were both very moved by it. He said that it was one of the best days of his life, and I think he meant it. He had just quite recently lost his wife, and it really boosted him, I think, for quite a while. That same night, again, I played with Huey and Merrily, and another guy that I had just met fairly recently named Wade Preston, and he is a superb pianist. And we've done several concerts together, playing, two piano things, and we just improvise our hearts out, and we click very well. We haven't played for a couple of years. I hope we can again. That whole 70th thing was a marvelous night, and there have been so many wonderful birthdays. I want now to talk about one of the most pivotal experiences of my young life, and it's gone into my old age. I had an uncle. I had a number of uncles, but this one was very close to me. He was really a father figure, and he had a house, of course, but he didn't have a piano in it. And like my family would often do, we would go to restaurants and bars that had pianos, and I would play for him and for anybody else who wanted to listen. So we went to this very nice German restaurant, and they didn't have a piano, but they had a Hammond organ. And I could navigate around that reasonably well. And apparently, it just happened that my uncle got into a conversation with this man, and he told me a little bit about it, but not much. And the next morning, as teenage kids do, I was sleeping in late, and all of a sudden there was this knocking on the door of our apartment on the third floor. And as I said, nobody locked doors back then. And I went to the door and, David! David! This guy's a perfectly strange voice. I had no idea who he was. So I went and I saw him put my bathrobe on and went out to the door. And there was a show in the 50s called The Millionaire. And there was a man named John Beresford Tipton who would give someone or some family $1 million, and he wanted to see what they did with it. And it was a very good show, actually, but the the deliverer of the money was named Michael Anthony, I believe. That's right. And so this guy's name was John Gilbert, and I only saw him once after that. But anyway, he said, "Can I come in? I have something I'd like to propose to you." And so I let him in, and fortunately he wasn't armed and dangerous. But he said, "I work for an elderly gentleman who loves music passionately, and he loves to have people come to his home and play for him. And I was in the German restaurant last night, and I spoke to your uncle, and then I was telling my employer this morning about hearing you play, and he would like to invite you and your mother or anyone else you want to bring with you to his home for dinner this evening." And so my grandfather lived downstairs, and before I made a commitment, I went down and asked him to come up and listen to this. And so he agreed that if I wanted to do it, it was fine with him. I called my mother at work, and so this guy picked me up in front of the house in a big Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, and then we went to pick up my mother, and then we went to pick up Mr. Willard at his office. And he was a very imposing old Yankee type of man, the type that's long since gone. But he couldn't have been nicer to us, and we went to his home, and he had a habit of taking a 15-minute nap every day when he got home, and he had to do that. He went and sat in a chair in the next room and snored for exactly 15 minutes, and then he came and we spoke for a while, and he wanted to know all about my life as a musician and as a blind musician, how I learned music and so forth. And then I played for him on a beautiful old Rosewood Steinway, the first movement of the Schumann concerto, and I filled in the orchestra parts as best I could. And he said, "Boy, you move me deeply." And from that time, I would go to his home several times a month and have dinner with him, and he would invite people in, usually 7 or 8, sometimes 15 or 20, and I would do a 2-hour concert for them. And the nice thing about it was that he was very vigorous, he was very sharp, but his short-term memory had somewhat gone. And my repertoire wasn't that big by any stretch, so I could repeat things, and I'd play it, and it was something that I played last week or the two weeks before, and he'll say, "I haven't heard it in years." So it all worked out very well for all of us. And over the years, he got older and older and frailer and more frail and finally died. But in that period of time, one of his nephews moved across the street from him so that I think he could watch over him and take care of him to the extent that he needed care. And I became very close to him and his family. He had just lost a wife. She was 36, and they had 3 or 4 children. I think it's 4. So of course she died as the children were quite small. And when I first met the nephew, Dave Black was his name, and he was trying to raise these children by himself. And over the next 2 or 3 years, I knew him as a very nice very well spoken, very pleasant person who would come over and listen to the concerts whenever he could. And then he met somebody in Prince Edward Island where Mr. Willard had a farm, and he used to go up, and he met this woman there who he married, and they had a wonderful life and they had 2 children. And now, these last few years, they both grew very old, and I would visit them in New York State and do concerts for them in their nursing home. And I've become now close to Dave Black's children, one in particular with whom I stay. And I want to sing a couple of songs that I used to sing for Elizabeth Black, who was from Prince Edward Island, as I say, and Scottish by inheritance. And Dave Black's father was from Scotland. So I learned over the years, when I was very young, some songs by a Scottish singer named Harry Lauder. And this is just a couple of them that they really loved. They're sort of comic songs. I've seen lots of bonny lassies on my travels wide, but my heart has set itself on bonny Kate McBride. Although I'm not a fellow who would throw his words away, I surprise myself sometimes at all I've got to say. Roaming in the gloamin' on the bonny banks of Clyde, roaming in the gloamin' with my lassie by my side. When the sun has gone to rest, that's the time that we love best. Oh, it's lovely roaming in the gloamin'. Oh, I never, never worry, and I never, never grieve. I take things very easy, what I canna take, I leave. And I work the whole week round fra early morn till late at night. And on Saturdays I eagerly look forward with delight to beautiful Sunday. I wish it would never come Monday, 'cause I lie between my sheets, the bed adorning. Oh, it's very nice, it's very, very nice to get your breakfast in your bed on Sunday morning. Quiet, what joy, what great delight it is to hear the kirk bells ring. I wouldn't miss their welcome sound, no, not for anything. When they begin to ring, I rise, and if I think it's going to rain, I fill my pipe and licht it and go back to bed again on beautiful Sunday. I wish it would never come Monday, 'cause I lie between the sheets, my bed adorning. Oh, it's very nice, it's very, very nice to get your breakfast in your bed on Sunday morning. Another day I'll do a couple more, but they're cute songs and they love them, and I love them. I'll just play what comes into my head for a little bit, and then I'll think of some other story to tell you maybe. Maybe I'll do a couple of birthday songs. this for myself. I do it for other people all the time on their birthdays. Never did that for myself. I'm thinking of my grandparents. This is my grandfather Crohan's favorite song. My grandmother's. That was my maternal grandmother's, and this is my Nana, my father's mother. I was told this is my father's favorite song. Claudettes. I just want to say how immensely grateful I am to so many people who I've loved for so long and who have loved me, my family, my step-family, old friends, new friends. So many, I can't talk about them all. But my blessed Claudette and my blessed children and the mother who brought them into the world. This audience. I just love hearing from you, and the connection that I've developed by doing these shows has just been so wonderful for me. And if it's been half as good for you, then we're all in pretty good shape. I probably talked way too much. It's not the first time. Probably won't be the last. But tell the people you love that you love them, and I can give you no better advice than that. I'll be thinking of you all day tomorrow. See you Monday.